What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this Monday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Frank Hrelja. Today we talk about the football card trap that so many people are falling into heading into the season. I want to talk to you about how I would be handling the market based on what's happened over the last few seasons, and also talk about a few football plays that may not be too late to jump on at the moment. So let's get right into it. And obviously there's tons of moving parts in the hobby right now. Last week on Wednesday, we talked about the PWCC eBay split. On Friday, we talked about Fanatics getting the license for basketball, baseball, and football cards. So there is obviously so many things going on. There has been so much going on in the hobby in general over the last 6 months or so. But I think if we look at the baseball card market and then we look at the football card market right now, it's very easy to see that we're still seeing the cyclical nature at play, where we do see tons of anticipation heading into the season starting up. We see card prices in general go down towards the middle of the season unless a player is wildly exceeding expectations. And then heading into the postseason, we start to see prices ramping up for the players that are positioned to potentially win a title. And if we're looking at the football card market, if we look back 2 months ago when the basketball card market overall was down and we looked at the football card market down, I was hearing a lot of newer people in the hobby saying that the normal cyclical nature that we see is done, that football cards ran up heading into the NFL draft. Everybody jumped on super early. They weren't waiting till July and August. Everybody was buying the cards heading into April with the NFL draft happening. But then we looked at what happened with the football card market, and it was really hot for a few weeks. There was a lot of speculation around guys like Jordan Love. And then we saw a lot of those card prices come down because we were still so far from the NFL season. We were 5 months away from the season starting up, and it was unreasonable to think that the card prices were going to hold at those prices for that long with no games happening. And we looked at some football cards drop in price through the end of April, through May. And then once we got to June, we saw a lot of prices stabilize, a lot of cards moving sideways. And what we've seen now in July and August, which we literally see every single year heading into the football season, is we see card prices going up with anticipation of games starting. We see this for every major sport heading into the season. And I think this is a really positive sign for people in the hobby to see, because I know there's a lot of newer people in the hobby who have gone in over the last year or two who may think that investing in sports cards is pure speculation and gambling, but we're still seeing the trends that we've seen for years in the space, which is great, giving collectors a path to clearly be able to level up their collection. If they're buying during the off season and during the middle of the season when we see lower prices, and they're selling when we get to the postseason and beginnings of seasons, it's an ability for people to level up their collection in a way that isn't strictly reliant on player performance. If we're looking at running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, card prices are up in general today from where they were 2 months ago. And if we're looking at the calendar, the season starting in 2.5 weeks, this is now the window where you should be selling a lot of these guys when they're super liquid. Everybody's trying to buy football, and most of these guys' card prices will not be up in a couple months. And that's not me being negative on the hobby. We literally see demand go down after the season starts for virtually every single sport, every single year. And we see it for football the most because there's the least amount of games. Players get injured at the highest rate. Running backs and wide receivers, there's such a high turnover. And will we see some cards go up in price? 100%. We look at guys like Josh Allen and Russell Wilson last year. Their cards continue to go up during the season because they played at a super high level. But there are a lot of guys I would be taking profit on right now. We look at Devonte Adams, his Topps Chrome rookie card, PSA 10. It was $100 6 weeks ago. That card's now nearly $160. We look at Calvin Ridley. His base Prism rookie card, PSA 10, was $70 a few weeks ago. That card is now $125. We look at someone like Dalvin Cook. His Silver Prism rookie card, PSA 10, was $160 back in early July. That card has now had multiple sales above $225. Once we get to week 1 of the season happening, if you want your football cards to continue to go up in price, these players need to be playing at a super high level. They need to be all the rage. Everybody needs to be talking about them, excited about them. And if not, we're going to see drastic drops in some of these cards. Dalvin Cook Silver Prism 10, just like this season, was selling for $250 when last season started up. We then look at the beginning of October, a month into the season, this card was only selling for $125 and nobody wanted to touch it. Why? He wasn't playing bad. Dalvin Cook had a great season. And there were some times later on in the year, come November, where he saw some cards go up in price, but then they dropped again. And if you're investing in running backs and wide receivers, I think it's super important that these guys don't have the massive brands the same way that star basketball or baseball players do, or quarterbacks do. If we look at someone like Jason Tatum, he's a lot more collectible than guys like Devonte Adams and Christian McCaffrey. Even though Jason Tatum isn't a top-tier player in his position the same way yet, he still has the speculation that he has the ability to become a global basketball superstar within the next few years, and that provides people to be confident to buy his cards all year long. If we look at football cards, there's such a high turnover in players. Players have short careers, tons of injuries, not many games happening, where if you're investing in a skill position player, the highest window to be able to sell these cards for the vast majority of them every single season is right when the year starts up, because you have collectors buying into the same FOMO over and over again. If you want to be holding football cards into the season, it should either be superstar quarterbacks you think are going to play at a super high level and be talked about all season long and compete for a Super Bowl, or it should be quarterbacks that are backups right now that you could buy super cheap with the hope that if they get announced as the starter at any time in the season, you could then make a big profit on their cards. Maybe that's someone like Dwayne Haskins potentially coming in for the Steelers. Maybe that's Jameis Winston starting games for the Saints. Those kinds of plays will have tons of volatility throughout the season, and personally, that's not something that I like to do. If I was looking at the football card market today, I would personally be selling all of my base cards and virtually any card, honestly, of a running back or wide receiver, move those. And I would only be holding cards of stud quarterbacks, guys like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Maybe if I had an autograph card, short print stuff, rookie cards, maybe I would hold those for a couple more weeks. But if we're looking at guys that I would actively be buying right now in plays that I think are going to do well through the month of September, it's going to be Mahomes and Brady, because I think those guys have the clearest window to get tons of attention through the first month of the season. And buying Brady, I believe, is always a smart play. We're talking about the greatest football player of all time. He's coming off his 7th Super Bowl title. And if we remember Mahomes' cards last year, he got a lot of love heading into the season when he was coming off of the Super Bowl the year prior. Tampa is returning virtually their entire roster that won the Super Bowl last year. They're playing in that first game of the season against the Cowboys on Thursday night. He's a long-term play that people are going to still throw money into. And I think him playing on the field and people realizing that he's still adding more to his legacy, it's going to give people even more confidence to throw money into his cards. If you look at his card market right now, on Saturday night on PWCC's premier auction, he had 2 rookie ticket autos sell for over $1 million. And I think that we are going to continue to see great Brady sales. If we look at Mahomes' market, I think he's going to do well throughout the season. They got embarrassed in the Super Bowl by Tampa. They're no longer viewed as the best team in the league. A lot of people have Tampa winning the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs are going to have a massive chip on their shoulder. They have the best quarterback in football with the best tight end in football in Travis Kelce. They have Tyreek Hill, who might be the best wide receiver in the league. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a great young running back. They have tons of talent throughout that roster. And I think if we look at Mahomes' cards today relative to where they're going to be in the postseason, I think people would be happy still jumping on his market. But if I had to pick one of these players between Mahomes and Brady, I'm 100% taking Tom Brady. I just think that the gap between them isn't enough. I understand that Mahomes cards are going to be closer in price to Brady's than they should be, given the fact that he is expected to be the best player in the league for the next decade, and there is an added value into being able to watch a player on TV. But Brady is the GOAT, and I don't know if there's anything that Mahomes can do over the course of his career to get to the point where the majority of people are going to take him over Brady. Let's not forget that Patrick Mahomes is only 25 years old and has started 3 seasons. I believe he's the future of the league, but there's a way higher chance that he ends up being a Peyton Manning or an Aaron Rodgers type player rather than being Tom Brady. Brady is a 7-time Super Bowl champion. He's a 14-time Pro Bowler, 3-time league MVP. And if you look at the overall greatness and consistency over the last 20 years of Tom Brady, you could turn that into 3 separate Hall of Fame careers, which I just don't think ever happens again in the sport. Do I think Patrick Mahomes is a good value? Yes. But if we're looking in the long term, it's virtually impossible for Patrick Mahomes to ever go down as the GOAT. And even if you assume that Pat Mahomes ends up having the best advanced analytics ever for a quarterback, maybe he ends up with the most passing yards ever, most touchdowns thrown ever, but he's not going to hit 7 Super Bowls. And even under some crazy hypothetical, let's say he does. If he hits 7 Super Bowls and he wins those and he's matched up with Brady, people are still going to say Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes head-to-head in the postseason 2 times. He beat him in the Super Bowl in 2021, and in 2019, he beat him in the AFC Championship game. Those are crushing blows to the arguments that people are going to try to make 15 years from now, trying to say that Patrick Mahomes is better. If we look at the LeBron and Jordan GOAT conversation, when people say that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, they always say he has 6 championships, LeBron has 4. And people have heated debates over this. But could you imagine if Michael Jordan beat LeBron in 2 postseason series? It wouldn't be a conversation, because if you've never beaten the player head-to-head in the postseason, it's going to be very tough to make that argument. And on top of that, we look at the LeBron and Jordan 6 championships versus 4. Pretend in the football analogy with Tom Brady, he's the Bill Russell of the sport. He isn't Michael Jordan. People in the NBA have 6 championships. We look at Tom Brady. Nobody has close to 7 titles in this sport. And I think if we're looking at Tom Brady, potentially the greatest American sports athlete of all time, I would be buying his cards right now, stashing them away for 25 years, because we're never going to get anything like him in this sport ever again. So I appreciate you listening to this Monday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Hrelja, and I'll be back again on Wednesday.